You mentioned about how to recruit. I'm recently watching Formula One Drive to Survive, and I noticed the importance of keeping the team united and basically create that cohesion and have that tone of balancing and everything. How do you make sure that your team is driving towards the same objective?
What I generally will do, and this I'd say is a newer appreciation for me, is the storytelling component. The stories we tell internally and the way as leaders we articulate and surmise and distill what's happening and our pulse on the company or the industry or whatever the challenge of the month might be. The ability to tell one story that a team can get behind and rally behind. As humans, inherently, we like storytelling and we do really well. We are really receptive as creatures to stories being told. And it's easy for us to let stuff kind of like seep into our brains, and then we internalize stories really well. So I try to find the right times to tell those stories. Okay, if there's a big release coming out, what's the narrative? What's the hero's journey as to why this thing is happening? And leave it open-ended enough that, again, people can interpret it and bring it into their own work and understand for themselves how it is going to impact them. Overall, though, finding the storytelling, that's one thing leaders across industries and across disciplines don't do enough, is telling that story. There's a lot of, okay, I wrote a Google Doc, and that's great. That's one artifact, but that's not compelling. That's not emotional. That doesn't get people to believe and trust in all of those deeply rooted things that inherently you need as a leader to really get anywhere. So I would say I've started to find more of an appreciation for that storytelling and say, okay, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on. And if you have one-on-one conversations with your team or other people in the business, you get part of the story, but that comes at the risk of that game of telephone where everyone's heard different things and there may not be a shared truth and a shared perspective of how are we doing? What do we got to focus on this month? And so that's, I feel, your role as a leader is to give clarity for that stuff and to storytell and find a way to articulate it's us versus this problem. Again, that seems to work pretty well. And if you can create what's the enemy, maybe the enemy is the competitor you're trying to beat out on deals, or the enemy is the economy is a little tough right now and you got to help customers through it. Just finding what that story is and learning how to tell it in an authentic way, that will do more to build cohesion and unity within your teams than any pizza party or any token gesture. I feel it's the giving people purpose that pays off. That really does.